Yo, hello, good evening, and welcome. Just saying, episode 29. 29 episodes in and going strong. And as you can quite clearly see, just me and Sean. Sean had last week off. Bromeo's taking this week off. So you and I carrying the show, Sean.
Oh, definitely. I'm glad to be back, I would say. It's freezing here in Cape Town, so just trying to keep warm, but hopefully everybody else having a good evening.
Well, it is that time of year. It's turning to freezing wherever we go. And who have we got here in chat? Eric's in chat. What's up, dog? Tubbsy's here. Vinco's here. How's it, guys? Welcome to it. I think you're the only people here. I think we're having a slow winter start to Just Saying, but we'll get cracking, and no doubt the hordes will arrive as we go. So what is the state of play? We've just had the qualifying weekend for, I keep saying Raleigh Open, but when you listen to the Americans, it's Raleigh, the Raleigh Open, number 5. And so we'll be doing a little bit of a recap of that, and then looking ahead to the GSL bracket this coming Friday. And then we'll touch a little bit on high schools. We're trying to get Yuckles in here to come and give us a full report on high school Rocket League, but he had a long day, only just got home. So we didn't organize that in time. Hopefully next Monday we can get him in here for a full break. Oh, well, he's in chat. Hello, Yuckles. Good to see you there. And he can come give us the full breakdown. But Sean has a little bit of knowledge and info, so we'll at least squeeze some of the information out of him on how things are going there. So, Sean, I don't know how much of the action over the weekend you were able to catch. I mean, it's kind of weird because we have the team streams and me trying to watch party stuff, so it's hard to track stuff, but I don't know how much of it you caught.
Unfortunately, in true fashion for me, I have been so swamped with studies and work. I didn't even have a public holiday last week. So, but I did try to catch up as much as I could over the last few days where I got some time, but we'll see how it goes.
Well, let's get some F in chat for Sean and how we feel sorry for him and his tough life. It sounds really rough, Sean. I'm so sorry for you, man.
Well, you know what? Time management is something I have to relearn again. So,
yeah, no worries. Well, okay, so we're gonna go through it because I've got. We do have the brackets as they played out, so we'll have a run through that. And it was a weird weekend. We had some highlights and we had some lowlights. It was a genuine, real mixed bag. Oh, man, and it could have been so awesome. There was so much potential, and then it ended up being kind of average. So I think I'm trying to see which of the groups I should go through first. Well, we might as well start. So this is Swiss Group A, 32 teams, and 12 of them were SSA. And when I say SSA, I mean with some kind of SSA representation. So 2/3 rosters and 1/3 rosters count. And despite that, we had 12 of the 32 teams in Swiss had some SSA representation. By the end of it, 6 SSA teams of the top 16. So we're still sort of rocking that sort of around 40%, which kind of sucks. But it is what it is. So I think let's run through the lowlights. And for that, so we're on the right group. This was Swiss Group A. And White Rabbit Gaming. Man, oh man, they honestly looked like the best White Rabbit Gaming have looked all season. They have underperformed consistently throughout this season, and it's always been, but they were looking good. On Saturday, they went through to the Swiss stage and upper bracket. They were looking really good. And then they played this Skibbity EU roster. They were 2-0 up and then got reverse swept in the first round of Swiss. I wanted to tear my hair out. And then in the second round, they swept Gambling Men, another EU outfit, swept them to go into the third round. And then in the third round, they were reverse swept.
Oh, wow.
By 77 blocks. They were 2-0 up on 77 blocks. They were looking so good. Then got reversed. And then moving forward into the next round, what happened to them there? They got beaten by Highball, clapped by Highball 3-1. And we're coming to that low light in a moment. And then in round 5, no, they didn't go to round 5. They were swept out in round 4. They went out virtue of those 2 reverse sweeps, which was and that's Casper, Banana Cat, and Galaxy. And I do think, I mean, one of the persistent problems with White Rabbit Gaming is the Nelspruit Wi-Fi Nelspruit Internet seems to clap Galaxy consistently.
Oh gosh, I can imagine. But to see them take 2 games off 77 blocks is good progress, I suppose, if we look at it that way. Are they going to be consistent? Are they going to carry it through to the next one, or are they going to fall off again and return back to their usual selves? But hopefully they will pick it up.
They have one more regional, and they have to make main event there to salvage something out of their season. So good luck to them. I hope that goes well. Well, now let's talk about the next low light, Highball. Highball, everyone's favorite team. Man, Ravi, Devour, Skill Still, they look good. They came out of the gate beating Akimbo Esports, that's Rubex's team, beating them 3-2. Game 5, thriller. They were looking awesome. But then, of course, round 2, they run into Limitless. And they didn't give Limitless much worry. They were swept by Limitless. But then round 3, they were struggling. We Love Farming, 3-1. It was starting to look dire. After a bright start, those 2 mid-rounds not looking great. And then they get matched up against White Rabbit Gaming. And that was incredibly unfortunate because you were guaranteed an SSA elimination there, which is never great. But they did the work there. Looked very good against WRG, 3-1ing them. And then into the final round 5 against Cristobal Cologne. And Cristobal Cologne, notable for Guns' I believe, 7th team this season or in the last 12 months or so. He's joined the 2 Spaniards there. And he looked very good for what it's worth. He looked great. The other 2 were kind of dodge. Highball went 2-0 up and then got reverse swept. Reverse swept to be eliminated and not making, for the second time in a row, not making Friday night main event.
So we had this weekend was just full of reverse sweeps, I see. But I'm quite upset with the performance of Highball all of a sudden. I mean, I mentioned it to you earlier. I was really looking forward to see what that team would do during this entire.
Well, here's my message to Highball, to Vinco, to Highball. If anybody from Highball is even watching, my message is that this is the time to figure out, it's easy. When things are going well, then the team chemistry is good, everything's groovy and everything's awesome. And they had that fantastic honeymoon first split. Now things are not going according to plan. This is the time to knuckle down and figure it out. This is, when it gets hard and things aren't going according to plan and maybe the chemistry is not as good as it was. This is where you figure it out and come out through the other side and be even stronger at the other end. So that's my message to Highball is don't lose the faith. You guys have a good thing going. Figure this out and you will come back very, very strong. But that was definitely a low light. I wasn't happy. And then, so Foot and Limitless were in the same group, but they didn't get to meet each other. And that's probably due to the Buchel's what system. And both of them going 3-0 to, qualifying for top 16 in 3 rounds. So they did what they were expected to do. Limitless did drop a game against a team called We'll Have a Look. But it was kind of, because I'm sure the first game score was something like 10-2. And then they ended up dropping a game to them, which was crazy.
I'll tell you right now. First game was 0-1 to Limitless. Second game was 2-1 to Limitless. To We'll Have a Look. And then the third game was 10-2 to Limitless.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Okay, so it was kind of the other way around then. I was so sure it was the first game. But anyway, but still managed to drop a game, which was kind of wild.
Unfortunate.
And what does Dap say? He says, from his perspective, between the end of last split and the start of this split, the jump in skill level of imports coming over has jumped a fair bit. It's not that Hybo is playing bad. The competition just got a bit more difficult. Okay, that's probably a fair and good observation. Yo, Scraff, what's up? And Subzan, I did see you. Sorry I missed you there. Good evening, Subzan. And then what were the other notables from this group? We'll have to... I'm coming to Genesix. I just wanted to see if there's any other... Oh, Goober Gang. Goober Gang was rough. They went out in round 3. Goober Gang is Willant. They're a reunion team. And they were promising. Made main event last regional, last open. Swept by Limitless. And then 3-1 to Cristobal Colon, and then 3-1 down to Gambling Men. So that was a rough outfit. And I see that Willant is LFT, so that roster lasted all of 2 opens, and now for the last open, he's looking for a new roster. So he's kind of been floating about and not quite settling anywhere, and I hope he can find a more permanent roster. And then Akimbo Esports, which is Rubik's, they were not looking good. They had Vesh on their roster as a sub last open, who replaced Rubik's because Rubik's wasn't well over the weekend. And he played very well for them. But I see he's playing for some other roster now. He was somewhere else. So their sub was gone. Rubik's was back, and they struggled. They went down in the first round, lost to Highball. In the second round, lost to Antisociales, whoever the hell they are. And then in round 3, they DQ'd. They just forfeited. So and they gave up an ignominious outing for Akimbo Esports. Then Cristobal Colon, who were top 4, if I'm not mistaken, last weekend, went quite some distance, but dropped one of their roster and picked up Guns on his 7th or 8th roster in the last not too long while, and also kind of had a rough start. I think they got reversed themselves in one go. I wonder if it was 77 blocks. I'm not sure. But that went to game 5. Round 1, they lost. Round 2, they beat out Goober Gang. Round 3, they beat out Skibbity, an EU outfit. And then in round 4, who did they lose to? They lost to We'll Have a Look, the team that took 1 game off Limitless. And then round 5, reverse swept Highball, which I already mentioned. But that does mean that Guns at least gets his second main event on his second roster for the split. Of course, last main event, he was with the Ultric New Dogs.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
But that roster fell apart. And no Snoozy. Snoozy appeared into my stream yesterday, and he's like, oh, no, he's busy this weekend, so he's not competing. Oh, Rubik's broke his wrist. Dap says in chat, what? That is crazy. Oh, man, Rubik's is having it rough. Okay, well,
let's hope, let's see what Cristobal Colon can do this time. With Guns now, the new addition to that roster. Because I saw last, what's it, split? They finished in 3rd place. So they were in top 4.
Yes.
They were above Limitless.
Yeah, no, they did very well. So we'll see how far they go. Then the big news out of this group was Genesis. And so Genesis has a bit of a pedigree, a reputation of taking Swiss to round 5 always, and then if they can manage it, a game 5 overtime in round 5 is kind of like how they have to do it. They missed main event last Open, and last Open they also had in the Swiss stage they won their round 1, round 2, and then were swept out. This time round, however, meeting Goat FC, which is Tristan's 1/3 roster, that went to game 5, 3-2 to Genesis. Round 2, they 3-1 Omen Esports. And Omen I consider a 4th prize team because the first prize team is an all SSA team. Second prize is a 2/3 roster. Third prize is a 1/3 roster. And 4th prize is a North African team. And Omen Esports are a North African team. So still better than Europe. But they 3-1 them in round 2. And then, of course, they get matched up against Foot Esports in round 3, and they got swept there. But then in round 4, up against the Polish team, We Love Farming, and 3-1 them. And that was a solid, they were looking good. And Eli, it's probably the best I have seen Eli play out. And in fact, Daps, I was planning to message you earlier today, and I just didn't get round to it because I was very interested to know how the chemistry in the team is going and how the comms are, because they looked really good. And Eli, probably for the last season and a half, has just looked out of sorts on whatever roster he's been on. But man, he looked good. He looked solid. The link-ups were good. And it was just great to see. And they made it out of Swiss in round 4. Like, what? So very well done to Genesis.
Well, let's look forward to the next weekend. Let's see if they can carry it on or do better. I'll be excited to see.
Next stop, top 8.
Yes.
So that was quite an action-packed Swiss Group A. Hello, Hypergaming. And then over in B, Cosmico had a rough start. Their first round match was up against Hayworth Riz. And they got 3-1 there, did take a game against them. But then in round 2, they swept one of a number of EU trash teams, the Front Flip Gang, bunch of racists, and calling it here EU Trash are the Front Flip Gang, and they were swept like trash should be by Cosmico in round 2. And then in round 3, it was Death Cloud Esports versus Cosmico, and it's just Death Cloud, another one of the lowlights. We're coming to you, Death Cloud Esports. You're breaking my heart out there. But all of those games were close. Death Cloud kept it close. They were great games, but Cosmico prevailing in all 3 of their games. So they went into round 4 and... they both went into round 4, but Cosmico then beat Rapaziada, an EU outfit, I think Portuguese or maybe Spanish, maybe Italian, who cares? But they 3-1 them to make it out of Swiss into the top 16. So big up to Cosmico. And then Relentless, which is another one I'm calling an SSA roster because they're a 1/3. Zany rocking it there, having his best performance this season with them in the last Open. They got through to top 8. They lost to Astronic, which I think was a surprise. They should not be losing to Astronic in round 1. In round 2, they beat Viva Italia, who I'm guessing are Italian. And then in round 3, swept the Smurfs. And now the Smurfs are another EU trash team. From what we can tell, they are literally people playing on alt accounts who very likely played EU qualifiers the weekend before. And I get the feeling... came and deliberately underperformed. So they made their way through. They got upper bracket. in the Saturday double elimination, and then in their seeding match they DQ'd, they forfeited, and word on the street is that they were just there to make top 32, to make some cash and then bounce. And they did say that they weren't even going to show up for the Swiss, but they did. And the reason I think they did is so that it didn't look too obvious, but then got swept out. So, yeah, goodbye to another EU trash team.
All the drama is just making me depressed.
Oh no! Listen, it's making me angry. Listen. I haven't even told you about my on-stream drama with the last EU trash team I'm going to talk about. But yeah, so that was the end of the Smurfs. The relentless though went forward into round 4, and they beat Pony no Jutsu. That was a little frustrating because again, sort of SSA home violence, which was unfortunate. Pony no Jutsu losing 3-1, and Relentless made it through out of round 4 into main event once again. So big up to them.
Which is great to see, because I was kind of worried when I saw, because they finished 7th in last split.
Yes, that
overall.
is correct. Yeah.
And I was worried that, is this just like they're having a really good split? Or are they going to stay at least consistent after that? And to at least see them make it back into main event is like exciting. So I'm looking forward to them to see how they perform.
Yeah, really hoping for the consistency there. So, yeah, Relentless, well done. Good to see you in main event once again. And okay, then let's talk about the next low light, and then we'll talk. Then we got 2 big highlights, which I'm very excited to talk about. Death Cloud Esport, and I love this roster so much. Oh man, Strudic, Jeff, Nitro, and they had such good periods. Round 1, they 3-1 Viva Italia. Second round, they what happened to them in the second round?
Stronic beat them 3-1.
Why can't I see it? Death Cloud. They lost to Astronic. And again, they should not be losing to Astronic. And they were ahead a number of times. And I'm not sure what went down. I didn't watch enough of that match closely to know where the wheels were coming off. But man, oh man, you guys, you got to get there. You have one more regional to make main event, guys. So they lost there. Then they go into round 3 in the 1-1 bracket, and they lost to Cosmico, and they were swept out. Losing 3. No. They must have gone to round 4.
They have to.
Of course they did. Oh, no. The big thing the one thing they did was they got rid of the last of the 3 EU trash teams I want to talk about, which is Crazy Time. That's Lewis Evo's team, and I'm now done and dusted with them. They in the double eliminations on Saturday, they got Unity Esports, who they swept. But in the last game of that, they were ahead by a few goals and then started own goaling until they were 1 goal ahead, just to be assholes about it. And then yesterday in the chat against Death Cloud, they were just atrocious, just awful people. Trash team, sayonara. You're not here. I'm sure we'll see them for the last open, but for the time being, they will have no further involvement here. Then the 2 big highlights, which I am quite stoked about. Triple B, which is Breezy, Bigfoot, and Blade. They played last open, didn't make main event. They played here. Round 1, they got swept by Strive Esports. And then in round 2, they lost to Rapa Ziada 3-2. That went to game 5. And then in round 3, they swept Viva Italia. And then in round 4, they beat in a game 5 thriller the Smurfs. And then round 5 swept Astronic. So they reverse swept the Swiss stage, and I believe this is Breezy's first main event. I'm pretty sure Bigfoot and Blade have played a main event before, But I'm pretty sure this is a debut main event for Breezy, and I couldn't be happier and prouder for them. So well done, guys.
Didn't he used to be on Unity at a stage?
Absolutely. They're like the old school Unity team back in 2021, 22 RLCS. He was it? Pretty sure there was Unity. I'm almost certain it was Unity. Suddenly I doubted myself.
He was on Unity.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's one of the OGs.
Debut? Are we sure it's his was he a sub, maybe, for a team that made a main event?
Who, Breezy?
Breezy. Yeah.
He might have been a sub. Might have been a sub. Someone who knows Breezy, give us the info. Tell us what's what there. And then another massive, massive highlight, and I was so stoked to watch them, was Pony no Jutsu, who've had a rough season. I don't think they even competed as an org in the last Open, but now their roster is T-Shao, Eagle, and a French 2.3K freestyler by the name of Reshram, I believe, or Reshram. And in my mind, this is what a 2/3 roster can do. Two very, very good local players with an EU third. And for me, I've been waiting for Reunion to get two Reunion players to get a Frenchie, out of France onto their roster, because that just seems like a match made in heaven. And they performed magnificently. Round one, they beat Spicy Oreo, who's another SSA team with Jerome Moment. They beat them 3-1. In round two, they swept the EU trash team of Crazy Time. So they were 2-0 up in Swiss. So things were looking good. But then they got Hey with Riz, which is a rough one to draw. But they did take a game. They took a game from Hey with Riz. So that was the positive development there. But then lost 1-3 to Relentless in round 4, and then had to do the work in round 5, where they picked up Rapper, whatever, some EU outfit there, and beat them in a game 5, 3-2. So Willant, Eagle, Reshi, well done, guys. Outstanding performance. Back in main event, and man, if this roster can stick together, it has huge potential. And if we can get a rule change to a 2/3 rule, this is the kind of thing we can see, Sean.
I agree with you there. I know you're pushing hard for that one, Greybeard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We'll cross our fingers and our toes for you, I promise.
Cross my fingers and hope to die. Yes, okay, good. So all of this means 16 teams will... it does bear mentioning that there was an increase in signups for this Open. There were 66, I think, for the Open number 4. Open number 5 had 81 signups. I think 78 was the firmed up complete rosters that made it to Saturday. So an improvement, which came as a bit of a surprise to me. It's good to see.
How many were South African?
Did I do the numbers on that? Did I do the numbers? I can't remember if I did the numbers on that. It was close to half, maybe just under. Oh, I didn't do the numbers. That's very poor of me. So yeah, because it was probably 5 or 6 extra EU teams.
Well, that's what I was asking.
Yeah, that's fair. And all of this means that Friday night is the GSL bracket, which means there are 2 groups. There are 2 groups on Friday, 8 in each group, and 4 from each group will make it through to the playoffs over the weekend. In Group A are Foot, Triple B, Labosh, Genesec, Strive, Chris Cologne. We'll have a look, Pomino's Dietza. So if you are counting along with me, that's 3 out of the 8 teams are SSA. Triple B, who I was just singing their praises, they get a first-round matchup against Foot Esports. So... the good news is you have a baptism. The bad news is it's a baptism of fire.
Definitely.
And then
Pony no Jutsu against Limitless.
Yeah, well, we're gonna come to that side of the bracket in a moment. Genesix against La Bosch, and I think I favor Genesix to take that, but that means they then probably gonna have Foot as their round 2 matchup, which is a little bit brutal. And just as a reminder on how this format works, it's almost like a mini Swiss. In Swiss, you have to win 3 series and then you're through, or you lose 3 series and you're out. With GSL, you have to win 2 series and you're through, lose 2 series and you're out. That's kind of how, a little bit simplified, but that's how that works. And then Strive versus Chris Colon, and I'm hoping that Chris Colon can do the work there and take out Strive Esports. And then we'll have a look versus Pomino's Dietza. Who cares? Then EU on EU matchup, nobody cares. Certainly not on this panel. And then over in Group B, Hayworth Riz versus Antisociales, another. Who cares? 77 Blocks versus Relentless. And their 77 Blocks are lucky to be here. Relentless, I'm favoring them to take out 77 Blocks. Pony no Jutsu versus Limitless. Now that kind of sucks for them to draw that. And even worse is that in the next game down, Cosmico versus We Love Farming, and Cosmico must win that. That means we're probably going to have Limitless Cosmico in the second round. Hopefully. And which means one of those, probably Cosmico, are going to have to go and fight it out in the lower bracket. And I hope upper quarterfinal. I'm not familiar enough with this to know if there's I don't think there's a possibility of Cosmico and Pony no Jitsu having to meet each other in the lower bracket. I don't think so. I think because they're in the same bracket in the upper, so they wouldn't be in the same bracket in the lower. I would think.
If they go, they'll be in the bottom of lower quarters, and they'll play against whoever loses between Cosmico and We Love Farming.
Okay, so let's say it's We Love Farming, and they win that.
Then they'll play whoever loses upper semi-final 1, which is between...
Okay. That'll be Hayworth, Riz, and Relentless, probably.
Ideally, yes. So
Ideally.
it's either... Based on those names, I would say, depending on how it goes, they either play against with Hayworth, Riz, 77 Blocks, or Relentless in that lowers.
Okay, well, hopefully Relentless beat 77 Blocks and then beat Hayworth Riz. Why not? Why not? Why not? We can dream. We're allowed to dream. So those are the Friday matchups. Kickoff at 5 p.m. on Friday. And I haven't made up my mind if I'm streaming, if I'll be watch party streaming that or not. I don't know if my almost completely broken heart can take it, but maybe I will anyway, just because. So yeah, we'll see how that pans.
Well, knowing you, Greybeard, you probably are gonna get the bite, the jitters, and want to have a look.
Hey, Data, good to see you. Glad you made it for once. And then we should say we do have, outside of RLCS, is the 2v2 Cash Cup is coming up. That starts at the end of May, if I'm not mistaken. I think this is it here. Yes, it is. Hey.
Sorry, I'm going to change the subject. Wasn't there like drama around these Cash Cups? Because I did read some shit about this.
No, well, the only drama is that it's quite EU stacked. We talked about it a little bit on last week's episode. Like 25% of the signups were SSA, but 50% of the top 8 were. 50% of the top 12 were SSA, 5 out of the top 8 were SSA, and 100% of the top 2 were SSA. And then I had a bit of drama with a player whose stream I was watch partying and he banned me so I couldn't watch. And yeah, there was a little bit of argy-bargy there, some fun and games. So, but yeah, outside of that, there wasn't too much drama. Now, the 2v2 Cash Cup is played on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, May 27, 28, and 29 May. And signups are now open, and only 9 teams so far have signed up for this 2v2 Open. Who has signed up? Let's see if there's anybody we know.
Would
If
y'all don't follow Graybeard, you need to get in there.
All right. Thank you for the follow, Rebby. Good to have you on board. Werty and Eli. That's interesting. Twinser and Badness. They're going at 77 blocks. Lazy Bear and Arafah. That's a good team. Casper and Galaxy. That's good. Rains Hunter and Zamba. I don't know who Rains Hunter is. I know Zamba. I don't know who Rains Hunter is.
I don't know who's salt and pepper in that mix.
And then there's Ginger all on his own. I don't know who Ginger is. And then Aqua all on his own. Don't know who that is. And then oh my word, the return of Glifty Moon. That's guaranteed to be another EU trash team. And then, huh?
The hate is strong tonight, Gravy.
Oh no! Listen, I've had it up to my tits with the EU cheaters and just awful people. And the caveat is there are lots of really good, nice EU people who I get along with, who we do good things. They do good things. We have awesome relationships. But there are and I'm tired of it, and I'm calling all of them out. And Glifty's a shit, and he will absolutely have an EU trash team. And then new. I don't know who NYU is. So, guys, if you haven't signed up yet, go and sign up. When do the sign-ups close? We should know. I'm sure it closes just a few days before. Sign-up deadline is Friday the 23rd. So there's still 2.5 weeks left to sign up. So I'm sure that number is going to go big. Yes, Harmonic. Then there are the mixed emotions EU people. You're quite right. And you know who you are. So you got 2.5 weeks. So get your duos going and go and sign up. Let's see if we can get some good SSA representation there. Well, Sean, we're going to get Yuckles in here next week, and I've got to give another shout out to Yuckles because he is streaming regularly. He's making it a consistent thing to stream High School Rocket League. It is so good to see, and there is a lot of High School Rocket League going on. So why don't you give us the high level overview, Sean?
I'll try and make it short and sweet because there is a lot of Rocket League happening in the high school scene especially. There's the HSEL, which is obviously VS Gaming side of the high school side of the High School Rocket League. Then we have ASL, which is ACGL's effort to have a Rocket League competition for high schools in the country, which has been pretty cool. I know that ASL eventually it's going to come down to a LAN, which will be at Grand West Casino.
Yeah.
So
well, that's where you want your kids, yeah? Okay.
No, there's a big arena there, which they usually host concert events and stuff. So it's like a massive arena. So it's going to be really cool for the kids to be in that kind of environment, especially for a LAN. Oh, there, Yuckles just said AGC in July, so that's when the LAN will be happening.
I've got to shout out the raid. I've got to shout out the raid real quickly from Mr. Lubba Wubba. Thank you for the raid. Good to have you. Yes, carry on, Sean. AGC in July.
HCL, as we all know, their final LAN ends up in Comic-Con Africa, which is in Joburg, which is when? What, this year? It's like August, September?
Yeah, it's supposed to be September, but the G20, the big governments of the world, are planning to have a conference at the same time as Comic-Con, so Comic-Con got shunted back to August, so earlier than usual. Last weekend of August.
Okay, last weekend of August. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there, Yuckles just mentioned. You know what? Another shout out to Yuckles because he has been putting a lot of effort into at least, even if it's not his teams that are being streamed, he makes an effort to get some stream going for some of the High School Rocket League that's happening at the moment. I know he got I'm not sure if he got Ginger Muzz, but I do know that Muzz did stream the Edgemead game over the weekend, which was on Sunday.
Now Edgemead is your school, right?
Yes, and I'm very proud of them this year.
Well, tell us why you're proud of them, Sean.
Well, never mind the fact that I would have loved to have tested them against the peak Paul Roos and Urs Moot rosters of last year. Yuckles, don't not let him start. At the moment, I have got like arguably one of the better teams in high school at the moment, because I have Clerks, which we know from RSC, who stomped
Yeah.
his way through the entirety of Prospect. I got Lonely J, which was an elite player that played for Shadow Esports in RSC, and he also did pretty well there. And then I've got also, I call him the Timu or the Budget Snowy. I have no idea why his name is Snowy, but he's new to the team, but he's really cool, and they seem to mesh really well together. So they're actually performing better than I thought they would in such a short space of time. So I'm really happy to see what they do.
Awesome.
But at the moment with HSCL, which happened over the weekend, there were a couple games. I know that with these high school games, you never really know when the games are going to be played because the kids will obviously schedule it according to their availability, and sometimes they'll play all their matches in 1 week, or they'll play it over until the deadline of the matches that needs to be played. So currently there's the HSCL Leg 1 final happening, which takes the top 8 teams in HSCL, and then they put them in the final for the Leg 1 to see who comes out on top at the moment there. I think it's for points leading up to the LAN that comes up in the near the middle of the middle of the year.
Okay.
And Kira Dumville Wolves have been doing really well. They're currently waiting in the finals for whoever comes up. The next game that needs to be played is between Edgemead and Ursmut Charlie, which I think is their C team. Edgemead
If
did have to
y'all
beat
don't follow
the
Graybeard,
Ursmut
you need to
Alpha
get in
team,
there.
which was before that in the quarterfinals, which I think they reverse swept,
Okay.
if I remember correctly. Edgemead lost the 2 first games, and then they came back and then won overall going into the semifinals. So hopefully, fingers crossed for me, they meet Kuradomville Wolves in the final, and then we'll see what happens then. But I do know that we beat them before.
All right. Well, hello, Josh. Thank you for following. Good to have you. Welcome aboard. And the AGC, the ACGL LAN in Cape Town is going to be on the 18th, 19th, and 20th of July. I'm planning to be in Cape Town for that LAN, and it would be awesome to get a massive crowd. All the Rocket League people in Cape Town, if you're not competing, come and hang, come and meet other people in the community. I'd love to meet as many people as possible. Sean will be there strutting his stuff with his team, no doubt. So come and meet him as well. So 18, 19, 20 July. Note it down in the diary. And then we are going to get Yuckles in here next Monday night for the podcast, so he can give us a full breakdown of what's going down in high school Rocket League, who the big names are, who the names are we should be watching out for, who's making moves and plays. So we'll go a little bit more in depth next Monday. We need
100%.
content and social posts. Who's that directed at, Yuckles? Who is that appeal to? Is it just to the world, or are you asking someone in particular? But do let us know.
Asking you there, Graybeard.
Is asking me? Okay, I'll do what I can. Everyone to come to. Oh, okay, yeah. No, we'll definitely do that. I think once we hit the middle of June, I think the punting the content and the push on that will go large, so that as many people know about it as possible. Hello, Inspire. And then next is I wanted to talk about a tweet from not too long ago. And Sean, I'm sure you haven't seen this, but
Twitter goes crazy sometimes.
This was a tweet from Rocket League Six-Mans, and it says, looking to join the biggest Rocket League competitive PUG system? Please tell me what a PUG system is. What's PUG? PUG system. I don't know what that means.
I can't tell you. I would assume I don't know.
Okay,
I know what
so
pubs is,
pickup
but I don't
game.
know what
There we
pubs-
go. Thank you, Inspire. It's pickup game. So, looking to join the biggest Rocket League competitive pickup game system? The best alternative to ranked 3 versus 3. It's a great place to improve, get noticed, and play against serious competition. Check the replies to find your region. EU, join here. North America, join here. OCE, join here. SAM, join here. MENA, join here. APAC, join here. SSA, stay tuned. So there we go. Sub-Saharan Africa sucking the hind tit once again. Oh my word, that is just atrocious. And so I did retweet that and said, what did I say? I said, there we go. I said, well, I've been tuned for like 2 years now, because I reached out to these 6-man people 2 years ago and said, can we get a proper 6-man server here that's got some support? And they were like, yeah, well, we'll see. Well, we'll think about it. We just got some things going on. We'll talk about it. And then I was in touch with the guy. We were talking, and then he ghosted me. And then, so who knows? So I will remain tuned, and hopefully something comes of it.
I don't know, eh? We'll see.
Yes.
Maybe they're also sussing it out because of the whole EU takeover that's happening currently.
Well, it does, because as far as I know, I don't know what the rules are on sort of cross-region 6-mans, if like EU are allowed to join NA or vice versa. I believe there used to be rules where you couldn't do that, so that was a big question. And I know Inspire, who's now in chat, did ask on Twitter and said, is it going to be for EU players as well? And if we don't have EU players in our 6-mans, then honestly, what the fuck are we doing? It'd be just stupid not to. And as is pointed out, it'll, if it is official and properly supported, it's not just going to be Snowy and mates. It's going to be a proper 6-mans. And I know Tubbsy's doing great work in 6-mans, trying to make it go, but our 6-mans has been a grind and it's tough. So I am crossing fingers that this all works out. Oh, well, there you go. You can't play cross-region 6-mans unless you're B+ or higher. Anyway, so we'll see. But it does look at least like they're looking to bring in official 6-mans here, and that will be fantastic to have that, because then it'll have proper support and we can actually get something going, and for it to be a place we can hopefully nurture our competitive scene, but we'll see how that plays.
Are they the ones that are going to be running it as well, do you think? Or they're going to outsource South Africans down here?
I don't know. I don't know what their thinking is, but I mean, if it's going to be official, then, I mean, you'll be like an official 6-man staff, whether it's local people. I'm sure they'll get some. They surely must have some local backup, but we'll see.
I guess we wait and find out. We have to stay tuned.
We have to stay tuned. So stay tuned. And just for the record, I hate that expression, stay tuned. When you see someone who tweets like, oh, I'm working on some content, stay tuned. It's like, bro, I've got my own life to worry about. I'm not going to sit here and stay tuned to your shit, hoping you do something. When you're ready, just let me know it's there and I'll tune in immediately. Okay. I'm feeling a bit grumpy at the moment, in case you did not notice. My word.
I don't know what gave it away, but there was signs.
Exactly. That's all right. Well, I think that about wraps it up, except for one important thing, which are the birthdays. And there are only 2, but one is particularly important. And the one I want to mention is Wavepunk. Wavepunk, who hosts RLCS on the 29th, so last Tuesday. He turned 33 years old. So when is Declan's birthday, Daps? I didn't see that listed anywhere. When is Declan's birthday? 8th of May. Oh, okay. Well, you'll get a mention next week. We don't look to the future. It's birthdays that are today or that have just happened. But then the big one, which is really, really cool, is T-Shao. T-Shao turned 15 today, and he qualified in Reunion Island time. He qualified for main event 10 minutes before his birthday started. So 10 minutes before his birthday. So massive birthday present for T-Shao. So T-Shao, happy 15th birthday, my mate. And as far as I know, he still holds the record as the youngest person to ever compete in an RLCS main event. And that was back when he was 13. So that was 2 years ago. So that is wild. But and he is so good, and he's only 15. So my goodness, what a talent for the future. So happy birthday, T-Shao. Hope it's been a good one.
Happy birthday.
And then Sean, we have one more RLCS Open. We have the 2v2 Cash Cup coming up at the end of May. And then what? Then the RLCS season is over. What on earth are we going to do in this long ass off season?
A lot of bloody work. That's what we're gonna do, Greybeard. Don't remind me now.
So this
I have a month of peace.
You have
sort
what?
Of. A month of sort of peace and preparation.
You have no peace. All the work starts now. Wednesday we got a meeting, and then it's all uphill grinding from then. So what that do you know what, SSAying? That is not the worst idea. Hey Sean, do you want to compete in the 2v2 Cash Cup with me?
We can go for it. I don't mind. We're both gonna knock out the first round, but
I mean, no. We're gonna go there for our two double elimination games, and no. Do you know what's gonna happen? We'll get a DQ in our first round match, and then we'll go.
No, we'll go bribe. We'll go bribe.
We'll go bribe. Okay, we'll do what we got to do. Okay, so there you go. Sean and I are going to figure out how to compete in the 2v2 Cash Cup. Let's see if we can make day 2. Top 64, why not?
If we do, I'll be impressed, actually. I think we'll both be impressed.
I'm going to have an emergency podcast if we make day 2. Now, what was I saying?
Back to the news.
Back to the news about this long-ass off-season. So this is the official teaser trailer for the RLCS off-season. The biggest community esport league in the entirety of Africa is coming back for a 4th season. RSC Season 4 is coming.
Oh yeah, very exciting. I'm hoping it's going to be a banger of a season. I know there's a couple changes coming, especially, so gonna have to stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned. Coming soon. Signups will be opening in June. Details will follow, but there will be the best RSC season we've had yet. RSC Season 4 coming. Ashy Pager, I see you there. You absolutely need to sign up for RSC. But more news over the coming weeks. But signups will be opening in June. Won't join, but yay. What the hell, Ashy? Come on, university can't be keeping you that busy.
If I can run RSC with all the shit I have to do, then you can play.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the fact. I'll even play in RSC.
Yeah. And I think that brings us to the end. I think that's all the big news. We've recapped the quals, Open number 5 quals. We've looked forward to the GSL bracket this Friday, the 2v2 Cash Cup, the Stay Tuned for 6-mans, the RSC teaser, the birthdays. I think we have wrapped it all up.
Oh, and DAPS, it is not only SSA. It's Reunion, North Africa, EU players if they choose to join as well. But it will be played on SSA servers. And it's a bit more forgiving than RLCS because if there are good, or let's say EU players that have signed up, then it doesn't mean that there's going to be a complete EU roster unless it's bottom of the barrel players that are being chosen last. So
And the
it's
the beauty of RSC always is that the rosters are balanced because there are MMR caps. So even if you have the highest MMR players on your squad, you can't play them all at the same time because that'll be too expensive. They will exceed the MMR cap. So the entire point of RSC is to be community based. People of all ranks at all levels, everybody gets to play, and it's a banger. But that is coming early. Well, league play will probably start in August. The signups will open in June, and then actual league play will get underway in August and run for about, about 10 weeks. So 2.5 months-ish, plus playoffs, whatever. So about 10 to 12 weeks, preseason, all of that. So it was 3 months. Let's call it 3 months of fun and games with Community Rocket League. And that wraps it up. Sean, anything else you want to cover that we've missed? I think we've done everything.
I think we covered everything, Greybeard. We got it this time.
Ashy, yes, of course you may join. It is open to everybody from, we generally go from like mid-diamond all the way up to GC3 plus.
I mean, I've known some golds to even join. I mean, some of them even have probably the best time. But you know what? Prospect and Rivals are probably the most exciting tiers at the end of the day because it's such a mess in the first place.
Yes. Oh, no, it's certainly my best tier to watch. I love streaming the Prospect games. That's Rocket League in the days when we used to actually have fun. You know, when people say good luck, have fun at the start of the game, most of the time we're talking out of our ass because this is Rocket League. Who's having fun? But when you're sort of silver, gold into plat, you're still having a lot of fun in Rocket League, and it shows when you watch those that Prospect tier play. So yeah. All right. Well, I think we end. We are gonna. Who should we? Oh, look at this. Munts is actually playing Rocket League. So Munts the caster is streaming. So we shall go and raid him. Friday night, I'm still not 100% convinced I'm going to watch Party the GSL. I don't know if I can take it, but I probably will land up doing it, as Sean has pointed out. But if not Friday, I shall see you on the ACGL Alpha channel for playoffs in the Open 5 on Saturday. And then there will be just one more regional to suffer through, and then we'll get a blessed off-season. I'm sure I'll be frustrated as hell by the third week into it, but I'm looking forward to the off-season.
It's going to be fun, Greybeard. Relax. It's going to be fun. Are you going to play or is it this week?
I don't think so. I can't tell you how miserable I was as a competitor. I love RSC. I love casting. I love everything about it, but competing was... I was
so well.
Oh, I did not. I was horrendous. That's it from us. Me and Sean tonight. Peace. Bye.